words of wisdom. Drop that zero and get with the hero.
Actually, I think I like it. Hey, so I had a birthday recently. I got myself a little gift, the 0470 by Zero Tolerance. It was cool that I did because if I hadn't, the only other gift I would have got myself was the early onset of male pattern baldness. Thanks, Dad, for that one. But this is a nice little consolation prize. This is a really nice EDC knife from Zero Tolerance. It's probably the nicest one that I've had from them for my purposes, which is just for carrying a knife every day. The Zero Tolerance brand, in my opinion, is a knife for knife guys. I would doubt they'd sell too many to people who are just buying like their first knife or just their average daily user knife. I think a lot of them is all about the collectors and people who buy the whole range, and I think they're very much buoyed by the internet knife community and the larger knife community in general. And this is a really good example of that. It's a knife that really, basically it's got nice steel and nice materials, but it's something that an Ontario Rat or something like that would probably be able to do about the same amount of work as. It's just, if you want it nice and premium and high spec, then brands like Zero Tolerance and the higher level Wii knives and Benchmades and things like that generally scratch a few extra itches you have as a knife focused or a knife centric person. So this is a design that is based off of, or was preluded to on a Kershaw knife, the Atmos. So this is a Dmitry Sinkovich design. He makes ZTs. What I suspect is their biggest seller, the 0450, and then he also does the 0460, the 0452, and the 0462. The 0470, I guess, is a loose progression of that numbering system assigned to this designer, the 04s. So, I like a whole bunch about this knife, but first, before I get into it, we'll do the basic measurements and specs. I always find the best way to do that is via some size comparisons. So let's see how they go. Alright, so let's talk about what I like about the knife first. I love the blade shape and I love the blade steel. So the blade shape has what I like. It's got a good flat portion for holding things and cutting outwards like this. It's the part I use for that. And then it's got a decent enough belly that you can do some board cutting with it. Say if you were a borderline autistic knife enthusiast that cut rope endlessly in videos, you'll enjoy this knife too, and I speak from some experience. Hey, and then we've got a really nice handle that is just basic, but also interesting looking, and that's hard to do. You can have a basic handle that's not particularly interesting looking. So this is a basic handle, and if it wasn't purple, it wouldn't be particularly interesting looking. But this one is basic, and it is kind of angular and cool at the same time. So really, really nice design. I like it a whole lot. And just the aesthetics of the knife, I think, flow really, really well. This goes to basically a straight line from here and down. It's all in sync with itself, and it's a good looking knife. And this little angled piece of carbon fiber in here, some of the nice looking carbon fiber I've had on a knife. I'm not a big, I don't do custom knives or one-off knives or anything like that, and that's where you start getting real fancy carbon fiber and stuff. But for production, this is about as good as I've seen. I like it even a little bit more than the Capara carbon fiber, which is just a little bit more subdued. So really, really cool there. nice handle, and overall really well executed. The action is great. ZT are known for things being slick. Yeah, don't ask me how I came across that. And yeah, it's very smooth. The flipper is great. It's such a small flipper that gets a really good result. Really light finger flick there. And I'm not finding myself accidentally pinning this lock bar shut too often. I think the knife is just the right size. And it's also a nice thinner lock bar, so there's less of it to accidentally leave your finger on. Lots of frame locks, lots of ZT frame locks, and this one included. If you do put any pressure on them, they do become hard to open, but I just find my hand naturally falls away from the lock bar, just down here somewhere, and it cranks open really well. Even with a misfire like that, still it's really hard not to deploy this knife really well. So great deployment, GG, well done. KVT system is, you wouldn't want to get it full of sand, but it definitely brings the good to the action. In terms of overall, modern knife features, yeah, it's got all this lock bar business here, where it's got a stainless steel interface, and it's got the over travel, all that good stuff. I really like the extra bit of detail they've put around here too. It's probably for practical reasons, but I think it looks cool too. Goes with that sort of robot chic of the knife. This looks like a knife that Raiden from Metal Gear Solid would carry, but after he's like all a robot and stuff. So that's kind of how I feel about it. So very cool. The pocket clip, it's great for the ergonomics. You barely even feel it when you squeeze your hand around it. So really well done. You could swap this out with the Kershaw Atmos clip if you wanted. It wouldn't be perfect. It would probably add a lot more of a wide part here. But if you're after that deep carry, you can get yourself a Kershaw Atmos for like 20 bucks. Comes with a great knife attached to it. And if you really want to, you could whip off this clip if it's not this one, which the screw's stripped out on, so boo. But anyway, it can be done. Maybe I just needed to heat it up with a soldering iron or something first. Break through that Loctite, who knows. But yeah, I'm happy enough with the clip. It's a thin knife, so I'm not too bothered about this much of it sticking out of my pocket either. So overall, does really well. So yeah, you're looking at a knife that has a pretty good blade, a really good handle, the action's good, the pocket clip's good, the overall specs are nice, it sits in a good weight and size range that I think most people could EDC this without feeling like that's something too big. I really like most of this knife, it's really good. But let's talk about the little sticking point I had with it, and that is, like a lot of other ZTs that I've had in the past, for me to get my preferred cutting performance out of it, which is a bit slicier, a bit better on the edge retention, you got to kind of resharpen it from the factory. And it's been the case with pretty much every ZT I've had so far, bar the 0220, which was a great knife, and that seemed to come with an edge that was good to go straight away. This one, yes, it needed to be redone. You can watch my previous video on taking this one to the knife lab, and you can see the stark difference between the factory edge and a resharpened, pretty arbitrarily resharpened 17 degree on either side edge, and that really brought out the potential of this steel. So bit of a shame you have to do that, but not really the end of the world. But I can see most folks just kind of want their knife to go from the get-go. And hey, if you want a tough edge, I guess this does. But if you want a slicey, really sharp and really long-lasting edge, then yeah, you got to do a bit of work to it. Well, that's at least on this one anyway. Some may say it was just burnt steel. I do feel even when you get it, it slices paper, but it's not as good as it feels with those degrees taken down just a notch. So that's what that is there. In terms of other stuff, I have done the spine whack test on this one, and happily it's absolutely fine. And that's after a month of pretty much dedicated use. I've used a couple of other knives in the interim, but this has been my main carry for the last whole month since the 5th of December. And yeah, it's not loosened up or weakened in any way since. And I think I'm probably using it a lot, I don't know, this is really bad to say, but I'm using it a bit more than lots of ZTs get used, because I do feel that ZTs are often a bit more of a collector knife, perhaps a bit more of a, I'll just get all of them kind of knife. I think they're buoyed by a really dedicated fan base that just buys every ZT. I think that's kind of that's the impression I get anyway, just cruising the various lines of dialogue that I'm sort of following. So yeah, but this one's definitely been used, and it hasn't weakened or anything like that so far. And I've been pretty rough on it, or I certainly haven't babied it or anything like that. I've kept it clean with EDCI, which, hey, just as a cool subplot, EDCI has just been certified food safe, so good job, Aegis and Skelton and whoever was, I think those guys that run it. So yeah, that's what I use to clean this, because this finish does tend to show up like bits of sticky goop fairly well. It's kind of a nice sort of not fibrous, but nice machine-like steel finish. So, you know, I keep it clean with the EDCI, so it's been doing pretty well. I haven't had to re-lube it, do any maintenance to it at all. It's not decreased or really increased in performance much since I've got it. It's just stayed nice and static. So really, really good knife overall in use. So yeah, and that's kind of how I want to end the video. It's, you know, I've dragged on ZT a little bit. They've done a couple of cringy things this year, I feel. A couple of weird interactions with their fans and stuff. But yeah, this is a great knife. I think their first 3 knives of the year were pretty underwhelming to a lot of folks. But then this one's come out, and I think this is a pretty widely appealing blade. I can't see anyone having a great amount of problem with this one. Yeah, they've sort of done a bit of a 1-2. They've got this really good EDC model, and then for the tactical dudes, they've gone and released that new Emerson one as well. So kind of a strong finish to 2018 from ZT. So, you know, can't really knock them for that either. So overall, I really do recommend this one. Again, it's a knife for knife nerds. If you're the type of person that balks at paying, you know, over $200 for a knife, then I mean, what are you even watching this review for? You know what ZTs are, unless you just jumped on to say that in the comments. If that's the case, then I guess do it and get it over with. But you know, if you can get over that line, then I think you'll really enjoy this one. So that's my review of it, and I hope to all see you in the next video. Goodbye, guys.